All right, so um, grades are updated to what I have received so far. Um, I see that some of you guys are turning in things that you have missed. Um, Continue doing that. I will definitely get rid of like the first assignment that we did. If you finish all the rest of the assignments pretty much, especially the videos, it's not hard to do that. I know that first assignment, that 40 question assignment, the medieval life packet was definitely a time consuming assignment. The reason why I gave you guys a week to finish that and nothing else that week. So please, if you are working on getting your grade up in the class, which you should be, I will exclude you from that first assignment if you don't get it done. Um, try to help you guys out a little bit. If you did get it done, it will stay on there, and there's a good possibility I'll give you guys some bonus points for doing um, that assignment. Also, for the last couple weeks, seeing that grades are due on the 28th, and we're done the 22nd. You guys will have one last assignment. I am still going to go over the influential inventors, painters, sculptors, etc. during the Renaissance, so you guys know who they are, um, and try to give you guys a little bit more information. But I'm going to task you guys with, for the last 2 weeks, you get 2 weeks to finish this. You get 2 weeks to get caught up on your missing assignments if you have any, and you get 2 weeks to finish this assignment. You are going to put together a um, a slideshow, and I'd like you guys to somehow embed a video into it that you find from YouTube about the person that you choose. It's not that hard, so I'll walk you through it really quick. So if we go to new tab and you bring up Google Slides, all right. So you got a brand new presentation that we're gonna start. We'll go with a blank one. So if I want to bring in a video, I would have to just do this: insert video, and here you search YouTube right here. So let's say I'm doing Leonardo da Vinci. So let's go Da Vinci. You have all of these Da Vinci videos: 9 minutes, 14 minutes, 12 minutes. So you're going to click on that, you'll hit select, and you see it brings the video here, and you can add it into your slides. After this, and I'll write all this stuff down. I'll put it all into the work. After this, I want you guys. Obviously, you're going to watch this. Don't just pick a video and add it into there. I want you guys after this to add another slide and ask 2 questions that come from this video. Okay, so we might create a text box here and say, uh, let's say, name 2 of Leonardo da Vinci's inventions, and name 2 of Leonardo, spelled it wrong, uh, and cheese paintings. Okay, so you have um, two questions that you can ask each of the during your after your video. And like I said, I'll put this on on our classroom as classwork. And again, you have 2 weeks to finish this. 10 slides. That's all I'm asking you on somebody. 2 weeks, 10 slides. One slide you already know is going to include a a video, and the second slide you already know is going to include two questions. Okay, these are two already gone. You have 8 slides that you guys have to figure out. A title slide, so there's 7. All right, you have 7 slides that you guys have to figure out. Okay, but I'll add this today. You guys can see what you need to do for this. Um, and if you need help on redoing this and adding stuff, that you just ask, and I will gladly help you guys. Show you how to insert a video again if you need to. Um, so let's look at this guy first, Filippo Brunicelli. Now I've talked about him a little bit. I've showed you this picture right here a couple of times. Right, there it is. This is, remember, the Duomo, the cathedral that showed power and stability in Florence. One of the questions I asked you guys to answer. Um, the big part of this is there's actually a dome within a dome to have the stability of this dome. What he did was he actually finished the dome. It was being built. He wasn't the first person commissioned to build the dome, but it was being built, and they could not figure out how to make the dome strong enough to, one, enclose it at the top, and two, support this like spire coming out of the top of it. And Brunicelli, when he goes through this, figures out these amazing like ways to actually work this dome, because they were building just one single dome. And if you don't know, this dome is made out of brick, so the dome itself is really heavy. It's not it's not just wood and shingles, or plywood, or plaster, anything that we pretty much build with today. They were making this dome out of total brick, and he found ways to lay the brick that the brick would actually pressure wise would work on itself instead of working against itself. A lot of this stuff goes right into engineering and architecture. When you build something, uh, you need to have stability with what you're building. If you're building a bench and you decide to put one support in the middle of the bench is going to end up being a teeter totter and it's going to fall. You have to make the supports correctly. They have to be the correct size. You have a lot of different things that go into creating something. And you got to think, this guy's doing this stuff 400 years ago. Uh, Remember, when we looked at this dome, the dome itself was the tallest structure that we could see, other than this spire that was built later in time. So you had people trying to work on top of this dome. You're bringing in bricks, trying to get bricks to the top. You've got to figure out how you can get the material to the top. So what Brunicelli does is he works on a crank mechanism. So let's say we got this crane. Don't laugh at my drawings while you're watching this. Okay, here's this crane. All right, it comes down and it's connected down here to a crank. Okay, so what he does is he takes one gear and another gear like this. Sorry, let me redo it. he has gears like this, where you have teeth in these gears, you have teeth in these gears. Okay, this gear on the bottom here is controlled by a like a donkey. All right. So let's try and make a donkey here. Fluffy tail. It's an ugly donkey, but it works. Big ears. Yeah, it's a weird looking donkey. So it's controlled by a donkey. The problem with this is that this gear on the bottom here can only rotate one way, going up. Okay, so if it rotates this way, the only thing that it can do is send, with this pulley system, send stuff up. Okay, so the thing is, Brunicelli has to figure out how he can make the pulley work in both directions. Because what happens is that time, you get time consuming where you're taking something up and you want to bring stuff back down. The thing is they had to exchange the donkey and take the donkey from going, let's say, just this way. So this way was going up. Okay, so the donkey then they had to turn the donkey around and turn the gear around for this way. So this way goes up, this way comes down. It's time consuming. So what Brunicelli does is he figures out a way to put a like a switch in the gearing. And this switch in the gearing, what it does, um, he he is now allowing for that donkey to stay in one spot. You have that one gear. Here's your gear. Okay. Now this gear can go down and it can go up, with keeping the donkey just going in one way. So you're taking a lot of time off of the job, where you would have to have somebody down there consistently changing the donkey back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay. Today we're like, well, crap, who really cares? Because we have cranes and everything else that goes along with building things. But the thing is at this point in time, this was a huge invention because it sped up the way something was built, and it allowed for people to work more efficiently and finish this a lot quicker. So here's what the dome looks like. This is on top of that spire that is next to the dome. But you can see, though, there are people up on top of it. You can get up on top. Um, but there's actually, this is the outside, obviously, of the dome. But the inside of the dome, well, we can see really, truly how the dome and the brick laying foundation helped finish this dome and allow this dome to continue to be utilized today. And you can see it's pretty much the tallest structure within Florence still today. Okay, and it's crazy how you look at all of these roofs that are around it and throughout Florence and everything. It they all mirror this dome. They all work off of this dome. So you can see why that dome was such uh, a huge part of Florence. Now that's back here. That's just a different church. Might be a mosque or uh, a Jewish church. So you can see this dome though in itself, and how big this cathedral is. The inside of it is just enormous to be to be built at such a time frame of not having cranes and those types of things to help it. So we get back to this Brunicelli guy, all right. We see here that the Florentines were really big with having private courtyards. They went back to that Greek time, outdoor plazas. They wanted to be within nature while they were working and while they were living. So Filippo Brunicelli, okay, he's studied of all these old Roman ruins. He learns math and how to construct buildings, and the dome he designed for the cathedral really took true engineering genius. It had no internal support beams or no columns, nothing holding that dome up. Instead, 8 huge stone arches met at the top of the dome and leaned against each other. Hoops of iron went all the way around the dome, and the brick wrapped the arches, keeping them in place. So this dome ends up being finished in 1436. It is 300 feet above the city. It is known as the Santa Maria del Fiore, or the Duomo, and it's still standing today 500 years after it was finished. It's a huge, we're almost going on 600. It's a huge feat of engineering ability during that time, and it really shows the prowess that these Renaissance guys had in the thinking of outside the box. I wish I could show you more on this dome. We have a video that we would watch if we were in class, because it is really truly remarkable on how he finished this dome and what he used to finish this dome. In fact, here's the video of it. Let me see how long the video is.
Imagine this.
You might not be able to hear them.
It's 1418 in Florence, Italy. You've been challenged to build a great dome for the Santa Maria del Fiore, one of the grandest cathedrals ever built. And you have no formal architectural training. No pressure, right? For Filippo Brunelleschi, a goldsmith and clockmaker, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. He considered the challenge carefully. Then proposed a daring plan using methods that experts don't fully understand even to this day. At the time, domes were often built as semicircles. But the town fathers required that Brunelleschi build an 8-sided dome that would be even taller and stronger. It would also have no central support system to hold it up during construction. Even worse, the dome's base was an imprecise octagon with no true center. But Brunelleschi had that covered. There would be 2 domes instead of one, an inner and an outer shell, held together by giant brick arches and interlocking rings of stone and wood. The rings would work like hoops on a barrel, keeping the dome from expanding outward. To move heavy loads hundreds of feet up, Brunelleschi designed ingenious new machines, including an ox-driven hoist and massive lifting devices far ahead of their time. So, revolutionary design? Check. Groundbreaking engineering? Check. Can-do attitude? Check. But with no central support system, how would he actually build it? First off, the masonry would have to support itself during construction. To do this, Brunelleschi placed the bricks in an herringbone pattern, which spiraled to the top of the dome, with vertical bricks acting as bookends to hold the others in place. They laid about 1 row a week, giving the mortar time to cure. At this rate, the dome grew at a snail's pace of about a foot a month. But perhaps most puzzling is how he was able to place the bricks with such precision.
Hey!
Many experts agree that he used guide ropes. One theory states that ropes ran from a flower pattern on the work platform that showed exactly where the bricks should go. Another has ropes running from the dome's center, tracing a series of cones that grew smaller as they ascended to the top. Still another suggests a different arrangement of central ropes and wooden templates. However it was done, it worked. The 8 faces of the dome met at the top precisely, just as Brunelleschi had planned. In all, it took 16 years to complete the dome. When he died in 1446, Brunelleschi left behind no sketches and no details as to exactly how he achieved his masterpiece. Today, it remains the largest masonry dome in the world, more than 500 years after it was built.
So I don't know if you guys could hear that. First time I played a video on this, but you could see the engineering feats of that dome and finishing it during that time, and how precise things were done and taking time to do it. It's almost like if you think about it today, what Brunelleschi was building was a Rolls Royce, handmade, taking time on it. And a lot of times, what we build today, I'm not saying our construction sucks, but a lot of times, what we build today, we're so interested in pumping it out as quickly as possible. You're more than less driving like a Honda, and using that. That's what we have. If Brunelleschi would have done something like that, more than likely that dome would not be here today. So we look at this. Okay, we also have some advances in painting. And this is where I kind of want to get through this a little bit and then stop. And I'm going to give you guys something each day to try to jog your understanding of these Renaissance workers and why they were such an advancement and a change in understanding of ways of life. You can see this. This is a recreation of people meeting baby Jesus during. You can see here's Mary Magdalene here in the middle. You got Joseph. You have a cow. You have baby Jesus here. You have all of the makings of it, but it doesn't. It's not done in a manger. It looks like it's done in in old Roman ruins instead of the manger. So, if we look at this, some of the advances in painting we begin to look at. Perspective is the one key thing, and I know I've talked to you guys about this. Perspective creates appearance of depth on flat surfaces. Renaissance artists used a bunch of different techniques to achieve depth. Size of objects, the smaller a painted object, the farther away it just appears. I mean, you guys will probably learn that in art class today. The larger an object, the bigger it appears. They also learned that a feeling of depth could be created by lines that came closer together as they receded into the distance. So they discovered that careful shading could give figures and objects depth to make them look three-dimensional. So you could shade somebody on their left side, showing that maybe they're within the sun is on on that side of them, but they're being blocked by that sun, or put a dark side on their right, the sun beating on their left, and the way they're standing shows that the sun is maybe at their back or something like that. So they're using this as a way to add to their painting techniques. Science and mathematics also helped artists make big advances. The Florentine artist Masiccio, he used geometry to figure out how to divide the space in a painting to make scenes appear more lifelike. Studied anatomy. They observed how people moved, facial expression. Their study really helped them make things more lifelike. And the other big thing other than perspective was oil painting. So they go to this oil painting because um, it was a thicker and drying slower paint. Egg-based paint was not like this. And egg-based paint didn't allow for painters to make a lot of mistakes. Oil paint allowed them to make mistakes, paint over their previous work, and show these details and structures in a bunch of different new ways. So they go with perspective. They bring math into it, and they use oil paints instead of egg-based paints to really truly show how lifelike something could be. So you get this guy here, Michelangelo, however you want to say his name. Okay, he other than Da Vinci, he's probably the most world-renowned painter. Um, and the things that he has done are the most sought-after things to see when you go to Europe or to anywhere that has what he's painted or sculpted. So we look at Michelangelo. We're not going to watch that. If you want to, the meaning of Michelangelo's David, you can watch that. But the historians talk about how he had a horrible childhood. His mother died when he was 6. His father was a demanding guy, and a lot of this probably contributed to his bad temper. He was extremely religious, which again goes with that humanistic approach. But he was really fierce with his words, and he was an angry guy. When he was 13, he becomes an apprentice to a painter in Florence, and he begins studying as a sculptor and working for the Medici family at the age of 15. So, um, for those of you that really enjoy art and are really good at it, or you know what, maybe just enjoy art and are decent at it, at the age of 13, which you guys are getting close, um, you would be possibly apprenticing at that age in Florence if you were good at art. And by 15, he was working for the most powerful family within Florence. He lived with the Medicis, and while he was there, he got a really crash course into dealing with other Renaissance people and learning from them. He then realizes that, and people realize that he has an extremely amazing talent to carve things from marble. When he was just 24, he carved the famous La Pieta. Pieta is a depiction of Mary, the mother of Jesus, mourning over her dead son. And Michelangelo's Pieta shows Mary tenderly holding the body of Jesus across her lap. So here are some of the things that Michelangelo has done. You have the sculpture of David. Here's La Pieta, and she's holding the dead body of Jesus. Here's another sketch that he was working on. Here is part of the Sistine Chapel that you can see. These are angels, and I think they're bringing people up to heaven, if I remember correctly. And here is the entirety of the Sistine Chapel. Now remember, the Sistine Chapel is what I showed you guys at the beginning of this, where God is reaching out to humans, and they're trying to touch fingers. And God's hand, remember, his wrist was strong, and humans were just kind of like, I'm there. Maybe we'll meet. And within the Sistine Chapel, I'm not going to go into it, but within the Sistine Chapel, all of these here, all of this stuff, they're all telling stories from the Bible. Each and every one of them tells a story. So you can see again, got this view and movement from the religious aspect and in the church aspect, but religion didn't go away. It just found a way, and these artists and sculptors and all these people that were part of the Renaissance and were commissioning the arts found a way for this stuff to work together with each other and to do it in harmony for the most part. Two of his magnificent sculptures are David and Moses. David is actually a 17-foot tall sculpture. The statue combines great beauty with the intense look of youth who is about to go into battle. Michelangelo's Moses is a strong, powerful figure. The statue shows Moses holding the Ten Commandments, which the Bible tells he received from God. And then the Sistine Chapel is the Pope's chapel in Rome. He labored for almost 4 years on a high platform to complete this work. He covered the curved ceiling with brilliant color scenes from the Bible, and the scenes contain over 300 figures and continue to awe visitors to Rome today. Like I said, more than likely, you ask somebody about what Michelangelo has painted, they're probably going to know that he's painted the Sistine Chapel because it's such a world-renowned piece of art. pieces of art. We can put it together as a bunch of different pieces that people long to see. If you are into that type of stuff, if you go to Rome, you're going to see this chapel. You're going to. It's a place that you probably should go, along with the Colosseum and all the other Roman ruins. But that chapel is somewhere that people will go look. And let's see what we got next. This is the last thing I'll show you guys today, and we'll just keep going tomorrow. But you can see, though, this is the Sistine Chapel, standing right in the middle of it. There is God and trying to reach out to humans. And you can see, as you go around, you would zoom into all of these, and all of these deal with books in the Bible. Okay? I did find the one time I was teaching this, I found Adam and Eve, and I can't remember where it's at. Oh, right there. I think it looks like a serpent there. Um, but you can look through this and you can really see if you are interested in art or art interpretation in itself. You can really see the Sistine Chapel uh, and look at this and try to figure out, what each of these are. These are all saints, if I remember correctly. So saints. All of these guys going around, they're all saints, and they go all the way around the chapel. You can see them as they go around. So, but yeah, this is a very, very intricate piece of art that took him a very long time to finish. And I mean, think about how tall this is, and the time frame of it being finished also and worked on. So tomorrow, like I said, I'm gonna do this every day. Uh, Probably the other ones won't be as long as this, I'm hoping, but we're gonna look at advances in sculpture as we move forward. We'll look at a couple more people. We'll look at literature with Dante and William Shakespeare. Okay, so uh, that is all I have for you guys today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. If you guys have questions on your work, please let me know.